In this section of the course, we're going to talk about finding your special sauce. If you just do a quick Google search for, unique candles or whatever might be out there, you see there are so many different types of candles and so many different types of containers and unique textures and waxes. I think beyond just making the basic candles which we're showing you here, you need to decide, well, what are you going to do to differentiate yourselves from everyone else to make your business or your candles special. If everyone has access to the same online materials, waxes, containers, and resources, it can be super easy to start your business. But I think you'll find pretty quickly challenge becomes, well, how do you then differentiate yourself? Because what would prevent your next door neighbor or someone down the street from doing exactly what you did? So you can see, just for inspiration, there's some ideas on here. People are using different containers or different, decorated candles. Some people are using unique wooden wicks, unique patterns on the candles, things that look like food that are actually candles. The options are really, limitless based on your creativity and your capability to do decorative waxes. You could do, your own custom containers. You could put it. I've seen people use wine glasses, anything like that. So there really is, limitless potential. And I think as you grow and start to make your own candles, that's where you need to decide, well, what is my unique voice or my unique vision or my, your special sauce going to be to help differentiate yourselves from anyone else and help continue to grow your business and sustain your business long term. And I think in the beginning you shouldn't worry about it. I would just focus on making the best candles that you can using the waxes and materials that you have, and just naturally as you do it more and more, you'll eventually find your voice. It's like any art or any craft. You'll find the areas that interest you the most, and then you'll see what it is that resonates with you or where you want to spend your time and investment into differentiating yourself versus other people out there. You can see, just looking at all the range of possible scented candles, not only are there just many designs and shapes and waxes, but just think of the millions of scents that are out there. One other way you could try to differentiate yourself, as we talked before, is through fragrances. So let's say you really want to make really great fragrances. Well, there are lots of great fragrances out there that are readily available for people, but I think the question then becomes, well, okay, how do I then start to not just take off-the-shelf fragrances? How do I start to blend some fragrances together to come up with my own unique fragrance that someone else may not have? And I think that's, as you begin to work more and more with fragrances or candles, as you gain experience, you'll start to decide, well, what do I like? What do my customers like? What are they looking for? What are they asking for I can't currently find or can't currently make through off-the-shelf fragrances that are available to me? And then how do I go about creating those for myself or for my customers that'll help differentiate me or make me unique or give me some offerings in my candle scent lineup that other people may not have. So here's on Peak Candle, you can even see some ideas to get you started. So scent mixing ideas. So not only do they have a range of fragrances and scents available to you, like we're just showing you, now they kind of show you, well, what are some ways you could mix some of their scents together. So if you wanted to start to get into this and say, well, I'm not sure even where to get started, I have enough trouble deciding what's a great fragrance from all the options out there. Now, how am I going to decide how to blend them? So this will give you, kind of a head start. And in some cases, what you'll see is that they even have some of these combined fragrances available for you to purchase. So if you wanted to make an apple fruit or so forth, you could start just buying some specific fragrances yourself and doing the mixing and see if it's a great scent. And that's where you want to do some testing with people or customers or friends or family to see, okay, compared to the fragrances I can buy, is this new one that I can make better than those? But in some cases they will sell you these blended fragrances that are a combination of fragrance oils for you to look at and possibly use in your candles. That way you can start to offer more complex or more complicated or more seasonal fragrance variants than maybe you could come up with yourself or potentially could buy, versus off the stock options, that they currently have readily available. And there are, as once you get into it, there are so many. I've shown you a couple of resources we tend to use, but there are so many different fragrance options out there. You can do your own research. You can do, find your own unique one. And if you needed to, you can even try to have something made for you if it really got that far down the road. If you decided that your own custom unique fragrances are that important and is going to be a major point of your lineup. I think obviously a company like Yankee Candle, that's one of their things, is you have so many options for so many different fragrances for so many different seasons, that's something they've obviously spent a lot of time in, versus they have some but less likely different containers and so forth. So I'm going to show you what is one of mine, at least one of my candle creations that I've come up with. And let's see it poured here. It's using some natural waxes and natural oils, a combination of stuff that I've put together over the years after doing research. And you can see, instead of just being, a clear kind of whitish candle, this is has an antique or older kind of aged yellow look to it as soon as you pour it. And then we'll do, we'll kind of show you how that comes together or forms through some time-lapse videos in a little bit. But the thought of this one is, instead of just doing a regular routine candle, I really got really fascinated with candle history, and specifically the history of whale oil candles and the role that they played in American history at the time, when there was no electric light. So you can see here, just doing a Google search on, whale oil candles, here are some of the ones. They were mostly called pillar kind of candles, or that would be put in a candlestick. But I decided, well, if I'm going to try to recreate these, obviously not with whales, because I disagree with those practices, but if I was going to make a modern version of this, I would want to modernize it by having it be in a naturally derived, or most of these are naturally derived waxes and oils. So how do you make a vegetable or plant derived candle that mimics the properties and behaviors of a whale oil candle? So let's quickly do the time lapse here. So as it cools and solidifies, you can see it does kind of have that antique kind of look like whale oil, but it is now more modernized into a container candle, and it is, again, plant-derived materials, vegetable-derived materials that are not obviously whale-based materials. So that way, I think I love the idea when I burn them of, what this is possibly what it might have been like to burn these types of candles back in the 1700s, but we're doing it kind of modern to kind of maintain that connection with history, obviously without, while saving the whales and anything like that. So now if you go back online and do a search again for whale oil candles, on the first page of the images, you got all those historical ones. But if you look down the bottom center, what do you see there? You actually see, my candle, because this is an area not too many people have gotten into. People do lots of fragrances or containers. We showed you food, but no one's really trying to make modern recreations of whale oil candles. So this is kind of in my secret sauce, or my area, that I've been really fascinated and interested in. And obviously, if there are not too many people playing in that area, you can then become, the new modern source of that, and kind of create your own niche. Obviously, not everyone is going to want these types of candles. It may be just a niche product, but to me, it's just so fascinating with the history that I think it's worth having, especially when you compare to, well, what the actual candles look like historically. And then how would you take that and modernize it, rather than just recreating it, which would look kind of similar, but how would you create it into a modern effect? Because since more people today use jar or container candles versus, pillar candles and candlesticks, and you can see it kind of looks like a combination of the candlestick in the middle and then the whale oil on the right with that antique color. So instead of aging it 100 years, how do you get that antique color from the beginning was a challenge.